Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to discuss the market updates that we're going to do. No, today I do not have a market update for you, I'm sorry, but I want to go over kind of the ground rules and the requisite knowledge to understand more or less the details that I'm going to go over within the market updates so that it's something that you can quickly pick up, and I'm going to make some graphics and stuff like that too. Because I really want this to be easily digestible. I don't want to get too bogged down in all of the ridiculous nuances in real estate. So the number one thing that we are going to be looking at is months of inventory. It is not my favorite indicator because it is a bit of a lag indicator in general. However, months of inventory is a pretty decent way to look at how competitive the market is at the moment. Because what it's going to do is it's going to look at the supply and demand chain. How many people have bought in the last 12 months on average, and how many listings there currently are. So the very quick breakdown of that is that this will be seasonally adjusted for how many buyers we anticipate having in the market. If we have 2,000 buyers currently in a market and we only have 1,000 active listings, we have 2 months of inventory. The higher the amount of months of inventory that we have, the less competition there's going to be for buyers. So it means that you can get in and you can negotiate a lot more aggressively for the most part. And it means that sellers are going to have their houses sitting on the market much longer. A very important piece of months of inventory that I don't think a lot of people cover is that it varies by price range. Your $0 to $100,000 months of inventory is going to be significantly different than your $750,000 to $1 million months of inventory, because they are going to be a different amount of buyers in the market for those kinds of homes, and there's going to be a different amount of listings. So typically what we see is right around the median, just under that, whatever bracket's just under the median for your area. It's usually going to have the lowest month of inventory because that's where the highest demand is. And then as we get into the luxury range, or we get into the really dilapidated range, where you're having properties that need like a full gut or even just a tear down, you tend to have a lot fewer buyers there, but you also have fewer properties. But still, you're going to see higher months of inventory, less competition, stuff like that. The second major factor is days on market. Really what this means is how long it is taking on average for homes to sell. You'll typically see this broken into the marketing days and then how long it's taken to close. We'll generally see about 30 to 45 days as the average to close, unless we have a ridiculous market like we did over the last couple years, where people are buying cash, and that kind of like drastically reduces the closing time. But overall, most loans are taking about 30 to 45 days. So that part is far less important than the actual amount of time marketing. That is how long your property is likely going to sit on the market without an offer. And so that is a very important piece, because that plus the months of inventory are going to drastically affect our pricing strategy. And this amount of time is going to be affected by, like I mentioned before, where your property is priced within that range around the median, and then the condition of your property in general. So that's something that is important to know as a seller, because we can talk through reducing that time, hopefully. The third thing, I'm going to go through current economic data. So the biggest thing that everybody is looking at right now are the inflation reports, the CPI reports. But there's a ton more that goes into all of those. The inflation report is just the easiest to see piece for the general public, but there are also going to be pieces about stocks, the job market, and a ton of other factors. And so I will kind of go into those, and we'll also discuss current events, because obviously it's not just whatever the Fed decides that is going to adjust the market one way or another. If we go to war out of the blue, that's probably going to affect our interest rates. It's probably going to affect the market. And so world events as well are going to affect how things go. And so I'll bring some of those current events in. And then there's a bunch of other important topics that are going to be interesting or helpful to you as a consumer. And so I'm going to go over those. I'll talk about average interest rates, special loan programs, especially as we start to see new programs come out, whether they're gimmicks or not. And then alternative investments. I know a lot of people are really looking into that because, single family is great, but can I turn it into a short-term rental? What if I get commercial properties and I rent those out, or mixed use? There's a ton of different things that are coming up, and people are starting to get really, really creative. And hopefully there will be quite a few opportunities coming up as we get out of this ridiculous bull market that we had during COVID. On those, I'm going to talk a little bit about regulations, because as much as law stuff is not very fun, it is very important to know, because it'll probably drastically affect how effective your investment is. If you are in an area that's running short-term rentals and they're about to impose an additional 15% hotel tax or something crazy like that, that's going to cut into your profits quite a bit, especially if now you have to apply for permits and only a few within the area can get them, because that has happened and people have had to get rid of their short-term rentals, which is really difficult when you bought at a premium to have this short-term rental. And so that's also going to go into a lot of the local changes. Sometimes we have builder updates and code updates that will actually affect how things are being built, because if they make things too stringent on a builder, they might not be putting out as much inventory, and that's going to drive demand up. Or vice versa, if they start being super lax on things, we might start to see an influx. But again, we'll go over any of those local changes too. And then really anything else that I see or that people let me know about that is deemed important or interesting. Just really anything that you guys want to see. And so for that, if you have questions or would like to see me talk about any different topics, give me a text or shoot me a call at 512-803-7226, or my email at jankovichrealestate@gmail.com. I will have the information in the description below, and I look forward to seeing you.